Okay, so what if we could just build a whole new digital world from the ground up? I mean, one that's actually private, truly fair, and based on a totally new idea of trust. Well, today we're going to dive deep into a project called ENTIFY, which has exactly that massive, some might say wild ambition.
All right, so to really get a handle on this, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at the big picture vision. Then we're going to unpack the core tech piece by piece. Their idea for an unbreakable identity, a crazy-sounding off-grid network, and a really radical new economic model. And finally, we'll see how they plan to actually roll this whole thing out in 4 different levels. All right, let's kick things off with the fundamental goal here. What is NDFI actually trying to build? So this quote from the project's founder really sets the stage. They're not talking about some small upgrade or a patch for the current system. No, this is a complete replacement, a total reboot, built on brand new ideas of what trust and fairness even mean. Okay, so the core problem they're trying to solve is this. The digital world we all live in, well, it's kind of broken. Think about it. Our identities, they're just entries in databases we don't own. Our money, it can be pretty unstable. And we're basically under constant surveillance. Entify's big answer to all this is to build a whole new foundation, one that puts the control right back into our hands as individuals. So the big question is, how do you even begin to build a world like that? Well, for Entify, it all starts with the individual. The cornerstone, the absolute foundation of this entire system, is a totally new way of securing your personal identity. And the core concept here is something they call sovereign identity. Now, forget about your email logins or your social media profiles. This is something else entirely. It's a cryptographically secured version of you that only you can ever possess. It doesn't live on some company's server. It literally lives in your hands. So, how does this actually work in practice? Well, it's a 2-device system. You've got a physical card, which is post-quantum encrypted, by the way, and a special secure phone they call the ENTIFY. Now, here's the kicker. To get into your secure digital life, your wallet, your assets, everything, you have to physically touch the card to the phone. That means there's just no way to hack it remotely. It's impossible. And for the absolute highest level of security, they're introducing something they call conscious biometrics. Now, this is where it gets really futuristic. This isn't just your fingerprint or a face scan. It's your unique autograph, your signature. But it's analyzed by an AI that recognizes the conscious intent behind the way you move your hand. And the whole idea here is that no one can force you to sign it perfectly if you're under stress or duress. It's designed to be the first real anti-coercion crypto. Okay, so having a secure identity is one thing. A huge thing, actually. But how do you communicate securely? I mean, for true sovereignty, you can't just rely on the regular old internet, right? Right, so instead of using cell towers and internet servers, ENTIFY is proposing a radio mesh network. Think of it like those walkie-talkies in Stranger Things. Each phone talks directly to other phones nearby, and together they create this web of communication that has no central point of failure. It's totally decentralized and, in theory at least, completely unstoppable. And this independent network, this is what makes a whole new kind of blockchain possible. See, because every single user's identity is already cryptographically proven from the start, the network doesn't need to burn insane amounts of energy doing proof of work like Bitcoin. It just needs to verify transactions between these already proven identities. This makes the whole thing incredibly fast and super efficient. Okay, so we have a secure identity, check. We have a secure off-grid network, check. Now we get to what might be the most ambitious, most audacious part of this whole vision, completely reinventing how we measure economic value itself. See, Entify's argument is that all our modern metrics, GDP, market cap, they're flawed. They give this great example. A hurricane actually increases GDP because of all the money spent on rebuilding, but that number completely misses the human suffering, right? So they created what they call the equity engine to measure what they believe really matters, human well-being. And at the very heart of this new system is this, well, it's a surprisingly elegant formula. It calculates something called an equity index, or EI, and it does this by measuring prosperity, all the good stuff like happiness and health, and it balances that against friction, all the bad stuff like poverty and corruption. And get this, it even uses the golden ratio phi as a constant because the creators believe it reflects a natural, universal state of balance. Now, this isn't just some philosophical idea. It's designed to be totally data-driven. The formula gets fed with real-world numbers. So for any country, it would pull in things like happiness reports and life expectancy for the prosperity side, and then weigh them against things like poverty rates and corruption on the friction side. And the whole point is to crunch all that down into a single comparable score of that country's true value. And this index, this equity index, is what gives birth to the network's own native currency, the equity token. So its value isn't based on market hype or speculation. It's mathematically pegged to the weighted average well-being of all of humanity. The goal here is huge, to create the world's first genuinely stable coin. So the really crucial point to grasp here is that this token has a derived value. It's not what someone on an exchange is willing to pay for it. Based on all the current global data, their fair price oracle calculates that one equity token is worth about 77 cents. It's a calculated measure of real-world value. And they're really consistent with their philosophy. Even the distribution of the tokens is designed to follow that same golden ratio. You can see here that about 38% of the total supply is set aside for the public sale, and that's what's intended to fund the whole development and rollout of the network. Okay, so that's the tech and the economics. It's a lot, I know. But how in the world does a project this ambitious actually get off the ground? Well, the plan is a rollout in 4 distinct levels, with each one designed to build a new layer of trust. It all starts pretty simply with their Fair Price Oracle app, which anyone can download and use right now. Level 2 is when the equity token is released for trading. Level 3 is where they introduce a private network, but you'll need to do some basic identity verification to get in. And then, finally, Level 4. That's the full vision. They call it the Sovereign Guild, and it's where users with that full sovereign identity can access all the most powerful features of the network.
And at this deepest level, man, the promises are just extraordinary. We're talking about the ability to tokenize your real-world assets, like a house that you own outright, and make it liquid. We're talking about access to digital cash that's actually private, untraceable to your personal name. It's a global, trusted marketplace of sovereign individuals, all backed by that free insurance and a private banking DAO. So, that's the vision. A complete, top-to-bottom blueprint for a whole new digital world. One built on the idea of an unbreakable identity and an economy that's literally based on human well-being. It's without a doubt one of the most ambitious projects I've ever come across, and it leaves us with one heck of a question. Could a mathematical formula truly create a fairer world, or is this vision simply a dream too big to build?